The smell of grilled steak filled the air. It was a rich smell, expensive. My stomach grumbled a little, but I ignored it. I always ignored things at the Collins family lunch. But this year it was different. This year, my mother-in-law, Margaret Collins, looked right at me. She smiled, a small, tight smile as she placed a perfectly cooked filet mignon on Daniel's plate. Then on Thomas's, then Rachel's, and then on the plates of every cousin, aunt, and uncle around the long dining table. "These are special," she announced, her voice sweet and fake. "For family only." My plate sat empty, except for the cold piece of chicken I had served myself earlier. Next to the steaks, she placed small, delicate tarts, flown in from some fancy French bakery. Again, one for everyone, except me. I watched her, my hands gripping the edge of the table. My throat felt tight. "Margaret," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Am I not family?" All eyes turned to me. A cousin dropped her fork. The clatter echoed in the sudden silence. Daniel, my husband, cleared his throat. He wouldn't look at me. "Not here, Claire," he mumbled, his eyes on his plate. "Don't do this." The silence grew. It pressed down on me, heavy and cold. My heart pounded. I was suffocating. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I felt invisible. I felt like nothing. I met Daniel at a book club. I was 22, fresh out of college, already working. An accountant. I liked numbers. They made sense. My life didn't always, but numbers did. I was proud. I supported myself. I paid my own rent, my own bills. I didn't ask for help from anyone. Daniel was in grad school. He said he admired my work ethic. He said I was strong, independent. I believed him. I thought I was marrying admiration. I thought I was marrying a partner, someone who would stand by me like I stood by myself. We dated for 2 years. He was charming. He made me laugh. He said I was special, different. I loved that. I wanted to be special. I wanted to be loved. Then I met his family. That's when things started to change. His parents, Margaret and Thomas Collins, were a lot. Margaret was sharp. Her eyes missed nothing. Thomas was quiet, but his judgment was clear in his silence. Then there was Rachel, Daniel's sister. Rachel had never worked a day in her life. She seemed to float through life, expecting everything to be handed to her. And it always was. From day one, I was dismissed. "Not refined," Margaret would say, looking at my hands. My hands that worked, that earned. "Not good enough," Rachel would sneer, talking about my job. As if accounting wasn't a real profession. As if being an accountant wasn't something to be proud of. At first, Daniel would defend me. "Mom, stop," he'd say. "Claire is wonderful." He'd put his arm around me. He'd squeeze my hand. It felt good. It made me feel like he was on my side. But then, slowly, his words faded. His arm wouldn't come around me as often. He started to grow silent. Just like his father. The silence was the worst part. It was a loud silence. It screamed, "You don't belong." Years passed. 7 years. 7 years of silent snubs. It became a routine, a twisted kind of family tradition. Holidays were the worst. Christmas, Thanksgiving. Everyone would gather. The Collins family and me. I was always there, but never really there. One Christmas, Margaret gave Daniel a new watch. A fancy one, Swiss-made. Thomas got a new golf club set. Rachel, a designer handbag. For me, a pair of fuzzy socks. From a discount store. They were cheap. They were ugly. But it wasn't about the socks. It was about the message. You are not worth investing in. Another time, Margaret found my financial papers. My pay stubs, my bank statements. She went through them. She didn't hide it. She left them on the kitchen counter, spread out. When I asked her, she just shrugged. "Just curious, dear. Your finances are interesting." Not very impressive for someone who works so hard. Her words, like little knives, twisted in my gut. She was ridiculing me. She was laughing at me. And Daniel said nothing. He just looked away. Rachel loved to mock my career. "Oh, still counting numbers, Claire," she'd say with a fake pout. "Don't you ever get bored?" As if her life of leisure was superior. As if my hard work meant nothing. And Daniel would just smile faintly. A weak, pathetic smile. He never told her to stop. He never stood up for me. It was like he was just another one of them. Or maybe he always was. I tried to talk to Daniel. I tried to tell him how much it hurt, how isolated I felt. "They treat me like an outsider, Daniel," I'd say, my voice breaking. "Like I don't belong." He'd nod sometimes. I know, honey, he'd say. They're just set in their ways. You know how they are. He'd never say, I'll talk to them. He'd never say, I'll protect you. He'd never say, you are my family. It was always excuses. Always silence. His silence became a wall between us. A thick, unmoving wall. Last summer, the wall became a mountain. A mountain I couldn't climb. The family decided on a trip to a lakeside cabin. A family bonding trip. Margaret told me to pack. We're leaving early, she said. I packed my bag. I was actually excited. Maybe this time, away from their usual house, it would be different. Maybe they would see me. Maybe they would include me. The morning of the trip, I woke up early. I helped Margaret load the car. I made coffee for everyone. I did all the usual things I always did. Just before we were about to leave, I went to the restroom. It took me only a few minutes. When I came out, the driveway was empty. The car was gone. I stood there in the quiet house, my packed bag still by the door. My heart sank. A cold dread filled my chest. I called Daniel. Where are you? I asked, my voice trembling. Oh, we left, honey, he said, his voice casual, too casual. Mom was in a hurry. You were in the bathroom. You left without me? I whispered. You just drove away? There was a pause. Then he said it. The words that cut deeper than any snubs, any insults. It's just family, Claire. You're not blood. That's when it hit me. Like a punch to the gut. A hard, agonizing punch. The rejection wasn't just about snubs and gifts. It was about who I was to them. I was not blood. I was not family. I was nothing. I was an outsider. Always. That day, I realized how deep the rejection ran. It was in their bones. It was in Daniel's bones, too. I drove myself to the cabin later that day. I tried to act like nothing had happened. But every smile was a lie. Every word I spoke felt fake. I was numb. The trip was a blur of forced smiles and more silent snubs. I remember looking at Daniel, really looking at him, and seeing a stranger. A man who let his family treat me like dirt. A man who said I wasn't blood. And now, here we were. The annual Collins family lunch. The grand tradition of my public humiliation. I had been forced to help prepare for it, as always. Margaret's orders started days before. Claire, iron these napkins. Claire, clean the silver. Claire, help me chop vegetables. I ironed. I cleaned. I chopped. While Margaret and Thomas relaxed, watching TV, sipping iced tea. Rachel, of course, contributed nothing. She just sat there, scrolling on her phone, occasionally barking an order. Claire, more ice. Claire, get me another drink. By the time the guests started to arrive, I was drained. My back ached. My feet throbbed. I felt like a servant, not a member of the family. A ghost, moving through their lives, cleaning up their messes, making their lives easier, while they pretended I wasn't there. Then came the steaks, the French tarts, and Margaret's cold, triumphant smile. These are special, she announced again, beaming at her actual family. Filet mignon, and imported French tarts, for family only. My plate sat there, empty of anything special. Just the chicken I had cooked for myself. My vision blurred slightly. My chest ached. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry, but I just sat there. Frozen, Aunt Sharon Mitchell, a kind, older relative from Thomas's side, looked at my plate. Her eyebrows crinkled. She was a good woman. She always tried to be nice to me. Margaret, she asked, her voice gentle, didn't you make one for Claire? Margaret's smirk grew wider. It was a cruel, satisfied look. Oh no, Sharon. I only ordered for family. And Claire... She paused, letting the silence hang. Claire can have the chicken. That was it. That was the last straw. The 7 years of snubs, the dismissals, the cold shoulder, the cabin trip, all of it crashed down on me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't pretend anymore. I turned to Daniel. He was still looking at his plate, avoiding my eyes. My voice was steady, calm, too calm. Daniel, I said, am I family or not? He flinched. He finally looked at me, his eyes wide with panic. Claire, please, he whispered, trying to silence me. Not now, but it was now. It was finally now. The dam broke. No, Daniel, I said, my voice rising a little. Now. Everyone here needs to know. Everyone needs to know who I am to you. Who I am to this family. I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding, but a strange calm had settled over me. A clarity. A power I hadn't felt in years. You see, I continued, looking around the table. I'm not just the outsider who cleans your house and serves your food. I'm the one who pays your bills, Margaret gasped. Thomas frowned. Rachel sneered. Daniel, I said, my eyes fixed on him, has been unemployed for months. He was fired from his job. He didn't tell any of you. He didn't tell you because I've been carrying everything, every expense. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, even his student loan payments. All of it, the room erupted. A shocked murmur went through the guests. Cousins whispered. Aunt stared. Margaret's face turned purple. That's a lie, she shrieked. My son is not unemployed. Rachel, ever the loyal sister, piped up. You're just trying to cause trouble, Claire. You're always so dramatic. I ignored them. I reached into my bag, which was hanging on the back of my chair. My hands were shaking a little, but my resolve was firm. I pulled out a plain manila folder. I placed it calmly on the table, right between the fancy steaks and the French tarts. It made a soft thud. These, I said, my voice clear and strong, are draft separation papers. The Collins family image shattered. It broke into a million pieces right there on the dining table. Aunt Sharon, bless her heart, was the first to speak. Her face was stern. She looked directly at Margaret. Margaret, how could you be so cruel? She said, her voice shaking with anger. Claire has been nothing but good to this family. She's worked hard. She stood by Daniel. And you treat her like this? Like she's less than dirt? Other relatives started to speak up. Whispers turned into voices. Voices turned into accusations. No one was looking at me with pity anymore. They were looking at Margaret, Thomas, and Rachel with disgust. They started to distance themselves. Cousins stood up, moving their chairs away from Margaret. Some even came over to me, touching my arm, giving me small, encouraging nods. I stood up, pushing my chair back. The scrape echoed. I looked at Daniel, who finally looked broken, his face pale. I looked at Margaret, her face a mask of fury and humiliation. I looked at Rachel, her sneer gone, replaced by shock. I am done, I said, my voice resonating through the room. Done being treated like an outsider? Done being your doormat? Done being invisible? I walked out of that dining room, out of that house, and out of their lives. I didn't look back. The divorce papers were filed within weeks. It was quick, clean, and painful, yes, but a different kind of pain. A pain that healed. I earned a promotion at work a few months later. My boss recognized my hard work, my dedication. I wasn't just counting numbers anymore. I was building a future. My future. I accepted a new position in a different state. A new beginning. A fresh start. Far away from the Collins family and their cold, empty house. Daniel called me, months later. His voice was different. Small. Broken. He begged for another chance. He said he was sorry. He said he realized what he had lost. You had 7 years, Daniel, I told him, my voice calm and steady. 7 years to stand up for me. 7 years to choose me. You chose silence, and that silence broke us. I hung up the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry anymore. Just a quiet peace. A deep, profound sense of freedom. If you've ever been excluded by family, like and subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from.